basic tips for the 1911. Let me just show you this is empty. I do have a snap cap in here. Okay, the gun is empty. Okay, let's start with that. That's a good idea. Alright, first of all, I wanted to, these are a few tips on 1911s. The first one is, the 1911, guys, the main thing is you do not want to let the slide fall on an empty chamber. See how this is an empty chamber? You don't want this slide to fall on an empty chamber. You might say why? It's because this will cause the hammer to start following the slide. The 1911 basically is made to load around each time the slide goes forward. Dropping it in an empty chamber will eventually knock the sear out of alignment. So the main reason, that's why you're going to want to keep a snap cap in there like that. Okay? You can dry fire 1911s, there's no problem. You can dry fire them all day long. It's not necessary to use snap caps to dry fire a 1911. The firing pin is on the spring and it's going to not hurt the gun because the firing pin is on the spring. The more familiar you're with the trigger by dry firing, the better you're going to be able to predict when the hammer is going to fall. Okay, that is really a main thing. But at the same breath, like I said, you're not supposed to let the slide fall on an empty chamber. So you're probably better off putting a snap cap in there or slowly releasing the slide. Another thing with the beaver tails, you don't want to depress the beaver tail slowly while you're pulling the trigger. Have it firmly compressed and then pull the trigger, okay? Because if you're, while you're depressing this, pull the trigger while you're depressing the beaver tail, and I can feel it in there. What's gonna happen? It'll cause excessive wear on the trigger bow. Some people, want to check their beaver tail safety to use this method. The beaver tail will not allow the hammer to fall unless it's depressed. Okay, guys? So make sure it's depressed and then pull the trigger. You can actually see it. See, it barely pulls it, and when you put that in, it pulls a little bit more. Do load the weapon, okay? Make sure you're loading a 1911, you want to load it the way I showed you. The best way to load a 1911 is take the snap cap or a regular bullet when you got it in, load your gun, okay, like that, put it back and let go. That's the best way to load it, okay? Make sure you release and remove the magazine before you lower the slide, okay? Before you're going to put the slide back, make sure this is out, okay? If you attempt to lower the slide before you remove the magazine, you will often have to pull the slide rearward. This is especially true in the shorter barrels, okay? Pushing back on the slide to relieve tension rather than removing the magazine will peen the slide top notch and cause the metal to start rolling up. Always remove the magazine to unload your weapon, okay? That's always. For springs, usually your recoil springs should be changed at a regular interval. On a government model 5-inch, you need to change the recoil spring every 2,000 rounds, okay? On a Commander 4.25-inch barrel, you should change it at 1,500 rounds. On an officer model, you should change it every 500 rounds. This helps to ensure the proper feeding and ejection of the rounds. Another thing is you don't want to over lubricate a 1911. Slide rails need very little lubricant. Good synthetic grease is used very sparingly in this area. Put a small amount of lubricant on top of the locking lugs and the locking recesses of the barrel. Put another small amount over where the bushing contacts the barrel. A drop of oil on the disconnector in the back here, okay, and the barrel link pin will just about give you all you need. These are some tips that you need to know for the proper operation of your 1911. And I hope this was educational, and I hope it helped you. Thanks a lot.